Detective Archive.
Natalie Wood was a superstar of her time, a child actress who burst onto the adult film scene in style. She starred in countless films, was nominated for an Oscar, and won 4 Golden Globes. But the actress's life outside of the cinema was not so happy. Natalie Wood was born in the United States to a family of poor immigrants from Russia. The girl's father was an ethnic Ukrainian, and her mother was Russian. From early childhood, her mother took her to auditions, and at the age of 5, the girl already played her first role, so the young actress did not have a full-fledged childhood. Her mother constantly put pressure on her, insisting on an acting career. Also, until the age of 16, Natalie did not take part in choosing roles. Then, at the age of 17, Natalie was sexually abused, but she never named her abuser. It was only 66 years after that day that her younger sister Lana revealed the secret in her book, Little Sister, My Investigation into the Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood, which was released on November 9, claiming that she was raped by Kirk Douglas, her co-star in the film, The Searchers. It also became known that the young actress was brought to his hotel room by her mother. The incident was hushed up at the time because they were afraid that accusing a famous actor would ruin her career as an actress. Douglas remained unpunished, although rumors about his dirty reputation in Hollywood circulated for many years. Natalie continued to act in films, became a style icon and was married several times. She was also credited with affairs with various famous men. But the life of the star was not so long, because on November 29, 1981, at the age of 43, she died under unclear circumstances during a yacht trip near the island. What happened to the actress has never been determined, but we'll tell you what is known about the incident and why it doesn't look like an accident. Twice in one marriage. It's not often that people get back together after a divorce, but that was the case with Natalie Wood. In 1956, the 18-year-old actress met 26-year-old actor Robert Wagner. According to Natalie's recollections, the couple actually met much earlier, when she was 10 years old and Robert was 18. They met in the hallway of 20th Century Fox. Wagner later recalled that he didn't even remember that moment, but he believed Wood that everything was exactly like that. "I turned to my mother and said, 'I'm going to marry him,'" Wood recalled in an interview. And she did, twice. The couple married on December 28, 1957, in Scottsdale, Arizona, and announced their divorce nearly 5 years later. Wood and Wagner officially divorced on April 27, 1962. During their marriage, the couple had many arguments. Robert was often jealous of her colleagues on the set, and there were also rumors in the press about Natalie's affair with actor Warren Beatty. Wagner's career was not as successful as his wife's, several of his films were flops, and after rumors of infidelity, he even wanted to kill Beatty. "I walked around his house with a gun, hoping that he would come out. I didn't just want to kill him, I was ready to do it," Wagner said in 2009 in his book Pieces of My Heart. During the breakup, both managed to get into new relationships, get married, and have children. But all these years, the couple continued to love each other and occasionally run into each other at events and in restaurants. When Natalie and Robert's marriages fell apart, they decided to get back together. In 1974, Natalie and Robert had their first child together, a daughter named Courtney. Around the same time, the couple bought a yacht, which they named Splendor after one of Natalie's films, Splendor in the Grass. Natalie hardly acted in films anymore, and devoted herself entirely to her daughters. In 1981, Wood accepted a role in the science fiction action film Brainstorm, in which she starred with Christopher Walken. In November, Natalie and Robert invited Walken to relax and spend Thanksgiving on their yacht Splendor. On November 28, Wood disappeared from the vessel during a walk. The next day, November 29, 1981, the actress's body was found at 8 a.m. in the water, 1.5 kilometers from her and her husband's yacht off the coast of Santa Catalina. The Hollywood star was wearing a nightgown, robe, red down jacket and socks. There were 3 other people on the yacht that evening, in addition to Natalie: Christopher Walken, Robert Wagner and the ship's captain, Dennis Davern. They all gave conflicting statements to the police, but after a 2-week investigation, the actress's death was called an accident. There were 2 versions of what happened. Natalie wanted to escape from the quarrel to the shore in a boat. Hearing the boat knock against the side, she decided to tie it up, slipped and fell into the water. Also on the body of the deceased were found abrasions and bruises inflicted before death, the significance of which was not given. The autopsy showed that the alcohol content in Wood's blood was 0.14 ppm. There were also traces of a motion sickness pill and a painkiller, which enhanced the effects of alcohol. As a result of a 2-week investigation, the case was closed. According to Wagner, they were drinking wine together one day, and Christopher began to persuade Natalie to return to acting full-time and continue her career. This angered the star's husband. "Why don't you stay out of her career? She has enough people telling her what to do without you," Wagner wrote in his book. Robert went on to say that he and Christopher had a row, and in his anger he smashed a bottle of wine on the table. At that time, Natalie went to the bathroom in her cabin, and then allegedly went to bed. He and Walken continued to argue and swear, but soon they calmed down and went their separate ways. Christopher went to bed, and Wagner stayed to chat with Captain Dennis Davern. When he came down to the cabin, Natalie was not in bed. He probably then went to look for his wife, because he noted that the boat, usually attached to the side, was gone. He also said that he did not hear the sound of the boat's engine. He contacted the Coast Guard by radio. 2 hours later, my wife was found. Natalie was wearing a red down jacket, and this helped them notice her. What Christopher Walken said. The colleague did not comment on what happened on the yacht, but during the investigation he confirmed Wagner's version. What Lana Wood said. Of course, the actress's sister was not on the boat, but after Natalie's death, she was one of those who categorically did not believe any of the versions of what happened. Lana claimed that her sister would never have gone to the boat at night and would not have sailed anywhere alone, as she was very afraid of dark water. Also, Natalie was a poor swimmer, so she had never gone out to sea alone in a boat before and did not even know how to steer it. The ship's captain, Dennis Davern, was a key witness in the case, but during questioning he corroborated Wagner and Walken's story. Perhaps his conscience has been bothering him all these years, because in 2011, Davern claimed that he lied to police during the initial investigation. He presented the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department with a petition signed by more than 700 people asking them to reopen the case of Natalie Wood's death. Dennis Davern claimed that Wood and her husband got into a heated argument. According to him, they were all drunk, and at some point Natalie and Christopher began flirting. Wagner got mad, especially considering that Natalie and Christopher were filming a movie together, and there were rumors in the press about their affair, and smashed a bottle of wine on the table. He also said that it was Christopher, not Wood, who actually went into the cabin, but the husband and wife continued arguing on deck. He then said that they moved into the cabin, and he heard the couple arguing loudly and heard banging. Dennis knocked on their door to see if everything was okay, but Wagner opened the door with an angry, mad expression on his face and told him, "Go away." The argument then moved to the stern of the boat and became even louder. Then suddenly there was complete silence. Dennis found Wagner crying in the cabin and said, "Natalie's gone. She's gone." 9 months after the investigation was reopened, medical examiners changed the death certificate to drowning and other undetermined factors. The captain's words led investigators and the medical examiner to conclude that Wood had been the victim of an assault prior to her drowning death. In 2013, another character in the story appeared. Retired FBI agent Donald Wilson said that he and Natalie Wood had a 4-year affair, from 1973 to 1977, when she was married to Wagner. They allegedly met at a resort in Idaho, where he came for work, and the pregnant Wood ran away from her husband after another quarrel. Wilson discussed his alleged affair with Wood on social networks and in numerous interviews. But his testimony was also taken into account. What else was discovered during the investigation? The police found random witnesses, people who were also not very far away on another boat and heard cries for help and even saw a fight. Neighbors of the couple said that once during Wagner and Natalie's first marriage, the actress ran to them in tears, looking for shelter. The next morning she returned home. Initially, this was the only episode of alleged violence discovered by investigators. Then they took into account the story of Donald Wilson. Robert Wagner refuses to comment on the new version of his wife's death, but supports the resumption of the investigation. This was the tragic fate of Natalie Wood. Thank you all for watching. We will be surprised by the new videos.